Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Evolve Beyond Limits podcast. I am your host, Stacy Geisel, and I am so excited to talk to you today about a tool that has been pretty transformational in my own life as well as the life of my clients. So, starting with, have you ever found yourself thinking, why do I always end up fixing everyone else's problems, but nobody helps me? Or maybe you've been in a spiral of frustration, convinced that someone else is to blame for how you're feeling. You know, the whole, well, if they wouldn't act like that, then I wouldn't act like this. Or if they didn't act like that, then I wouldn't feel like this. It happens. Or I don't know why I feel so crappy. Like we feel like that. I don't know why I feel so crappy when we're actually avoiding doing all the things that make us feel good. I don't know about you guys, but I have been in every single one of these situations. And what you might not realize is that you are unknowingly, you have stepped into the role, into one of the roles of something called the drama triangle. And it is quietly draining your energy and keeping you stuck. So it's interesting because I actually learned and really went deep into this through a friend of Andrew's who introduced me. And I knew what the drama triangle was, but what I didn't know is that there's another triangle, right? Because whenever I explain this triangle to my clients, they say something along the lines of, well, I don't want to be in this triangle. How do I get out? I don't want to be stuck in this. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because there is actually a way out. And today I'm going to show you how to shift into your power and go out of drama and into your power using the other triangle, which is the empowerment triangle. So let's first take a moment to understand the drama triangle. So there's three sides to a triangle, right? So whenever we're stuck in the drama triangle, we're stuck in one of three roles that we're playing. And let me just put this out there in the very beginning, because usually when I talk to people around this, we tend to bounce around through the different ones. So it's not like you only fall into one of these categories. Whenever we're in a state of heightened emotion, we will fall into one of these, and sometimes we bounce around from one to the other. So the first one is the victim. This is happening to me. I feel powerless, stuck, overwhelmed. This one is rooted in avoidance, because you actually want to stay stuck and we pretend like there's nothing that we can do about it, or we don't know what to do so that we can stay stuck in the same old familiar stories. You know, you guys have heard me say this time and time again, that I know how long I want to sit in my shit and like stay stuck based on how long it takes me to reach out to somebody and tell them what I'm feeling. Right? Because if I were to tell them what I'm feeling, then they're probably going to help me to feel better. But if I get stuck in this victim role, then I don't want to tell anybody, because then I might have to do something about it. Right? So we've all been there. The second one, so the first one is the victim. The second one is the rescuer. And this is the let me save you. I need to fix this. And what's interesting about this one is that it's rooted in quote unquote helping, but it's not actually helping. What you're saying to the person that you're trying to help is, I don't trust that you're strong enough, or you know what's best for you. And so this one is, we can really fall into this one when we think that somebody else can't make their own decisions, or we're trying to save them from, making a mistake, or save them from a failure. And it honestly, a lot of times we think it's coming from a good place. But the craziest part about this one for me is that it's actually motivated by needing to be right. And it's actually motivated by the need to be in control of the situation, of other people's emotions, of other people's reactions. So it's actually a way to bypass discomfort, both your discomfort and lack of trust, and then the discomfort that comes with watching somebody else struggle. We don't like that as humans. I think actually one of the hardest things to do is watch somebody else struggle and just sit back and let it happen. And so we are trying to bypass discomfort when we think that we need to be the rescuer of a situation. So First one's victim. Second one is rescuer. The third one is the persecutor. This is, it's your fault. You're the problem. This one operates from blame. So while we can blame others, I actually see this one play out a lot as the inner critic as well, where you're like, everything is my fault. I'm the worst. If I wouldn't have done this, then that wouldn't have happened. And this one can sometimes you turn yourself into the villain of the situation. And so I do find that oftentimes this one comes up when our mind is trying to make sense of something. Like I've seen this come up in relationships where instead of just saying, there's no villain or victim here, it's simply this relationship just doesn't align for us anymore. We have to make it somebody else's fault, or we have to justify why we don't want to spend time with this person anymore, or whatever this is. So we start looking for ways to create a villain of the story so that we feel better about whatever decision that we're making, instead of just being honest and truthful about the situation. There is no bad guy. It just, this isn't working any longer. It's a lot less dramatic, right? But that's the whole point, is that this is the drama triangle. So when we're stuck in any of these things, they can feel so familiar, but they're based in disempowerment and codependency. And even when we think we're helping, like when we think about the rescuer role, we're often avoiding our own discomfort. So what we find is when we're in the drama triangle, we just kind of bounce around in the drama triangle. Like we don't want to be in this triangle at all. But if we don't recognize, we don't have the awareness to know what's happening, then we stay stuck in it and just like spiraling in. And maybe one minute you're the villain, and the next minute you're trying to rescue, and the next minute you're the victim. And it's nowhere that we want to be, because it's very disempowering to be in any part of this triangle. So what we need to do is shift to the empowerment triangle. So we're shifting from this reactive, disempowering role to this very creative and empowering power that is within us. So we're stopping the whole, oh, poor me, it's everybody else's fault. And kind of, as you noticed, a lot of times with the drama triangle, it's all about somebody else. Like we're placing the blame or the circumstance or whatever. We're saying, oh, if, it's always somebody else's situation. Even the rescuer, you're not focusing on you. You're focusing on somebody else and trying to save them instead of, looking at yourself. So the empowerment triangle, there is an opposite to every single one of these. So the first one is the victim, right? And so the opposite of the victim is the creator. And the creator says, I choose how I respond. I am the creator of my own life. What is the next step that I can take? The creator never believes they are stuck. They never believe that there's not something that they can do. And so they take, life by the horns and say, you know what? What's the next step that I can take? Because the only thing that is keeping me stuck is me. So the creator takes responsibility for their own life and says, it doesn't matter what external circumstances are happening. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. What matters is what I can do in this situation. So that's victim to creator. The second one is the rescuer. And when we're the rescuer, what we want to be, the other side of that in the empowerment triangle, is the coach. And the coach says, I support without saving. I encourage others. I empower others to grow, to be strong. I remind them that they are capable and they can trust themselves. And I don't have all of the answers, and they need to trust their own, wherever they're going. They believe that people are strong and capable enough to trust their own choices and grow stronger through their mistakes and their shortcomings. So it's okay for people to be uncomfortable. They know that, because that's where we grow. If we look back at our life, it is through our adversities, through the things that didn't go the way that we wanted them to, through the things that we had to learn that helped to shape who we are. Why would we want to save somebody from that? We just want, and so many times, I don't know about you guys, but the last thing that I want when I'm in a situation where I'm not sure if I can do it, is for somebody else to do it for me. I don't want that. I don't want somebody to run in and try to fix it. I want somebody to say, you've done it before. You'll do it again. You are strong. You are capable. There is nothing that you haven't been able to get through. And maybe they'll walk with me, and that would feel really freaking good, right? Like I'll walk next to you, but you've got this. And like, goodness gracious, how empowering is that, right? And it takes a lot of the responsibility off of the rescuer. You are not here to save anybody. And if I fall on my face, I hope you will give me a hug and tell me that it's okay and we're going to keep moving forward. That's what that role is all about. So the third one is the persecutor or the villain, and who we want to become is the challenger. And so the challenger is the embodiment of I speak truth that empowers growth. They bring a positive pressure onto people to create a breakthrough. The interesting thing about the challenger is they are very comfortable sitting in the discomfort of other people's emotions. They have no problem being like, okay, I can see that you're angry. Talk to me about that. What's going on? They don't try to, if somebody gets angry, they don't try to backtrack. Like, oh, I didn't mean it that way. It's like, no, tell me what's happening within you. Oh, you're sad. Let's talk about being sad, right? Like, let's talk about the fact that like, it's okay for you to be sad. And so they kind of give this very safe place for people to feel their emotions and get to the other side of something. So the challenger has to be very comfortable sitting in other people's discomfort. And I can give you an example of this one. When I was going through some of the struggles last year, I remember I was sitting on the couch and Andrew walked up, and I don't know, I was probably pouting about something. And he just was like, enough is enough. Stop acting like you don't know what to do and get your shit together. Like, you know what to do. Just go do it. And I was like, ouch. Okay, it hurt. And I imagine it hurt me for a moment. It stung, right? And I imagine that it wasn't super easy for him because he wanted, he loves me and he wants to see the best for me. But then I started to cry, right? And I'm sure it wasn't easy for him to see that because at the end of the day, he's just being honest. And he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong at all. About 10 minutes later, I realized that I could continue to play the victim of my circumstance, or I could be the creator. And the choice was mine. And he reminded me that I had a choice. And so a lot of times that's what the challenger is there, to remind you that you do have a choice. And as uncomfortable as it is, you have a choice. And so what are you going to do with that choice? So, this is just one of those. These are the three. So we go from victim to creator. We go from rescuer to coach. We go from persecutor to challenger. And the drama triangle is very disempowering. The empowerment triangle is obviously very empowering. That's the whole point. And we can change everything in our life if we stop asking, why is this happening to me? Like, why won't everybody else change? Why is this person acting like this? And instead we say, what can I create from this? How can I be of support and make people feel stronger? And how can I put positive pressure onto situations to be able to help people, like remind people that they have a choice in life? And those are all going to get us so much further than just spiraling in the drama. So when we think about the practical magic of this, and when we think about the action step when it comes to this, step one is we have to have awareness. The next time you feel triggered or you feel drained or you're throwing a pity party or you're pouting about something, pause and ask, what role am I playing right now? Victim, rescuer, or persecutor? And then we have to reclaim our role. So if you're feeling like the victim, we have to ask ourselves, what is one small choice that I can make right now to feel more empowered? What is the next step that I can take to feel better about this situation? If you are in rescuer mode, you have to ask, what support can I offer that empowers them rather than fixes them? And this one is interesting because you have to keep putting it back on them. Instead of assuming that you know what's best for somebody, ask the question, what support do you need from me? And if they say, I don't know, you can say, well, what if you did know? Right? And keep putting it back on them. Don't let them off the hook here. If they say nothing, then leave it alone and let them know that you will be there when they need something. Remind them that they are capable and that they are strong, and leave it alone until they come back to you and say, hey, this is what I need. Really the rescuer coming out of this is putting the responsibility back on to somebody else and just reminding them and being supportive but you don't need to fix. Nobody needs to be fixed here. If you're acting like the persecutor, then we have to ask, how can I challenge this situation with clarity and compassion instead of blame? And you can say something along the lines of, I see that you are capable of more. So what is getting in the way here? What is going on? Right? And that's probably a little bit more gentle than what Andrew said to me, which was, enough is enough. Stop acting like you don't know. Get your shit together. But it's the same thing, just know your audience in that particular way. Sometimes we need something a little bit harsher. I find that to be true in my own life. Because sometimes we almost need to be startled out of the drama and just be like, oh my gosh, you're right. This is ridiculous, So, and if you want to, what we're going to do is we're going to give you some implementation options. Okay. And so when it comes to the drama triangle, this is not about blaming yourself. It's about recognizing a pattern and then realizing that you have the choice to shift it into power. Because anytime that we are in the drama triangle, we are in a very high stressed state. I can promise you that. We are not thinking clearly. We are feeling powerless. We feel as if, it's not a great place to be. So this is about shifting into power. This is about the freedom of choice, realizing I have a choice. I don't have to stay stuck in this triangle. So that is what this is all about. And your implementation is this. So when it comes to choose your shift, choose what you want to do. If you have 1 minute, simply create a reminder. Write something down put the triangle, write the triangle down or the two triangles down, and keep it on a Post-it note that is on your desk, that is on your phone screen, whatever it is, just to remind you that I have a choice. I own my power. I choose how I respond, and just stick it wherever you need to stick it so that it can become top of mind for you, so you can really work on this and see, where are these things falling into my life and where can I get my power back? If you have 5 minutes, then take a deep breath, write down what role you're in and what role you want to shift into. And we have actually attached a worksheet to help you with this. So that you can pull this up and be like, okay, I see that I'm here. I've got 5 minutes. I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to make some really empowering choices. If you have 15 minutes, then complete the above steps, like complete the worksheet. And then we have actually created a guided meditation that's going to allow you to step into that empowerment triangle and release you from the drama triangle. So we are going to have that in wherever you need to have it. Put that in your toolbox for any of these times that you fall into the drama triangle and you're like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of this. I want to feel empowered, not disempowered. And just allow yourself to really focus on this for this upcoming week and see what comes of it. See what you notice. We'll throw in a journaling sheet if you want to spend 10 to 20 minutes a day really diving into how the drama triangle is playing out in your own life, and focus on how you can spend more of your time operating from that empowerment triangle. Awesome. But whether you have 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or you want to spend the next week really focused on this, then all of that is great. and see what comes up for you. So I'm sending you so much love this week. Just remember that we are in this together. So keep growing, keep evolving, keep showing up, and I will see you next week.